So let's talk about a class that's given to us called file. File help us with manipulating files or directory, either creating them, deleting them, modifying them, and so forth, so on. There's a lot of things. So let's get started with this file. So when we create a file object, can't spell, we have the choice of entering many types of path, let's say. We could specify a direct path or a parent with other parts to it, a child. We could give it a file that already exists. You could see here the third parameter requires a file object, which is the parent. And lastly, we could give it a URI, which we'll talk about in the future. For now, let's start giving it a path name. And this path name is important. So, so far, we had a path connecting to, let's say, our movies. So let's say here. So if I wanted this file to open one of these films, or let's say this French thing, whatever that is, we need to give the full path of where this French file, this file that I have here, resides on my computer. Easiest way is to either copy the path at the top, but here we don't see the real path. We see a shorter path. This is not good. Or we could also right click here, properties, and normally you should see the path to it. So you could see here the location. So if I wanted to open this file, I would give this path as a string. And you could see here, it automatically added backslashes. This is to escape the escape character. If you don't know what that is, go one of the early videos or just Google escape characters and string. So these backslashes are required. And again, we're on a Windows-based system, so we're going backwards, while in a Unix, you'll go forward. Now, this is not good enough because this is the folder. So if I want that file, I would need to mention it as well. So I need to mention the file name and the, sorry, give me an open there, and the extension. The extension is the dot you see afterwards. If you cannot see the extension, you need to go inside view and turn on your file name extension. So at the top here on my Explorer, view, file name extension. And the moment you turn it on, you see here, I've turned it off. I don't see the extension. When you turn it on, you could see the extension. Give it a second. Now, just remember that the extensions are, it's really just for Windows to understand which application should run it. You could always come and change extensions left and right. It doesn't mean it will work, but you could do whatever you want with that. Just leaving you that knowledge there. So here, I need the full name, French MKV. So here, we have something interesting. This is called an absolute path. Absolute path, so this is an absolute path. Absolute path are great, but are limited. There's a lot of issues that could come with an absolute path. What would be that issue? Well, notice that this is specific to my system. There is no accounts or there's no users in your computer that's named Res. It is totally possible that you're not on a Windows and you're on a Linux or a Mac or Android or whatever. So this whole path doesn't work either. So absolute path is where you start from the root, as you could see here, the C, and we go down the chain to reach where we need to be. This is good only if you're working by yourself and no one else, and only good if you don't ever change computer. So basically, it's not good at all. What we need is not an absolute path, but a relative path. Relative is powerful. Why? Because relative, we always specify from my current location, from my whatever location, go to the same path. So if I wanted to, let's say if I wanted to go to the same location as this French MKV from my relative path. In this case, our relative path will be it should be our OOP project here. Okay, so this is our relative path. Normally, okay, we could test it out, just make sure we're all good, and so forth, so on. For now, going to go and copy that path. So I'm going to copy that path. Actually, we need it with OOP. So this is currently my current location. I can't spell. And I need to go from that current location. I need to go to this videos folder, French MKV. So if you guys saw the last video and you know how to move, take a second to try and reach this location without giving a full path. So a relative path would start off the current location. A relative path would basically mean from the current location, go somewhere. So from the current location, we're going to go somewhere. And what's interesting is our compiler will translate those backslashes for us. So we just could go ahead with / and ignore the backslash. So file from the current location, we're at OOP. We want to go up 2 levels. ... goes to parent. We're at projects, not good enough. We're at documents, not good enough. We're at res, now we're at good place. We're going to say videos, make sure you don't make any spelling mistakes. And then we're going to say French.mkv. And again, I just did the / because we don't need to do any escapes or anything. The compiler will do it for us. Now, if we run this, it shouldn't do anything, to be honest. We have nothing that's being done with the files. Okay. Now, file, this class itself gives us a lot of functionalities. So one thing that we could ask, is it a Boolean? Right? And I'm going to ask the other one too. Another one we could ask, let's see what else it says. If we want to delete it, I do not want to delete that. I don't even know what that file is. We're not going to do that. We could get the path. This is an interesting one. And we're going to actually compare the paths too. Why not? And let's see what else that we could do that could be interesting to us. Now, canonical paths are interesting too. So notice there's an absolute path. Let's do both. And we're going to see what it means in a second. Sorry, I just got the hiccups. And let's do another one. File get. Which one did we do? Ooh, absolute. All right. And this, I guess, doesn't return a string. It does return a string. But it throws an exception, and we need to manage that exception. Okay. Yeah. So right now we're throwing it like this. This is wrong. Don't do this. We're just doing it so we could go forward with our test. And we're going to go ahead and copy these as well. File 1, file 1. So in all 3 cases, I'm showing both values. One value that we got from absolute path, and one value that we got from relative path. So the first one is it a file? You could see that both of them are saying true, so we did something good. So this could be a good question to ask yourselves. If you're like, let's say, if you're navigating a system that you don't know, maybe you're managing files and systems, and you need to know if it's a file or a folder. If it's a folder, go inside and read further, right? Anyway. The second part is we're going to get the path. Notice that the path given to us, one is a absolute path, one is a relative path. Cool? But that's the path we entered. But if we go look at the next 2 lines, this is the absolute path for both of them. So over here, we get C user res video French, but over here, notice this one is a bit more interesting. Starting out at the current directory, so it's relative, at OP, we said dot, which just means the same place, so this could be ignored. Go up 2 levels, go up 2 levels, go up 2 levels, not 2 levels, but go up a level for each one of them. And then go videos, French MKV. This is the absolute file that we specified. So the absolute path to the file. And then we said the canonical path. This is directly the straightforward, the better naming one, which you could see here. So this is important because this one kind of tells us, again, how we went to it, while this one gets you the cleaner path name. And in both cases, we got to the file, right? So what would make an absolute path different from a relative, we said at the beginning, is this path does not exist on your computer or system. Well, that's still valid for this one too. This is going to find that videos location in your computer because that's a default location inside all Windows. However, it won't find the French MKV. Now, why do I show you these absolute and relative path? Is because, well, then in the end, this OOP folder is always going to be there. Wherever your project is, that's a place that's relative to you. You always know where that place is. You have always access to that place. You could always create files and folders in that place and retrieve them whenever it runs again. And this is why relative is an important aspect. I'll see you guys in the next video.